Is it possible to have a flexible schedule and build a thriving business coaching practice? I'm going to show you how to make that happen on this episode of the Business Coaching Success Podcast. Let's jump in. BJ O'Neill here with the Business Coaching Success Podcast. So glad you're here, where I share with you strategies, tools, and tips to be able to grow your business coaching practice to six figures and beyond as a Christian business coach. Let's jump in. Welcome. Glad that you are here. BJ O'Neill with the Business Coaching Success Podcast. And interesting conversation. I do run into a lot of guys who are coaching, who are looking to coach, that talk about, planning and how can I be successful but yet still have flexibility. What does that look like? I'm going to share with you specifically my daily routine for the most part, and prayerfully add some value to you so that you can really get a good idea of going, okay, if this is what I want to do, this is the income I want to earn, this is how I want to coach, local or virtual, this, that, the other. What does my daily plan look like? Because that's where the secret sauce really lies. And guess what? You can do it too. Look, it's very simple to get overwhelmed. It's very simple to kind of drift, but you can't drift your way to success. So I'm going to share with you some things that's going to help you, I believe, that's come through many years of learning, trial and error, refinement, and to be frank, still going through a lot of those things today, because I think that the more you know, the more you grow, right? So we're going to walk through all of that today. By the way, if you are interested in learning and discovering how to build a successful business coaching practice, and you'd like to just chat about it, you can go to businesscoachmastery.com. That's businesscoachmastery.com. We'd love to invite you to a quick chat where we're just going to give you a solid overview of exactly what we do in giving you a complete and total turnkey solution that is a done-for-you systematic approach to building a business coaching practice as a Christian business coach. You'll see a link there. You can book some time. We'll chat about it, and then you can discover if it's the right fit for you or not. Okay. Can you build flexibility? Can you build success? Can you do it? What's it look like? I'm going to give you some things to consider. Very practical things that you can begin to implement today. Whether you're already coaching, maybe you're coaching, you got 4, 5, 6 clients, but trying to figure out how to juggle it all. Maybe you're on the other side. You're thinking about coaching, and this is going to be great content for you to be able to use to determine how to plan, okay? Because there's a balancing act of looking and forecasting the future, as well as that what is going to happen on this very day. What if it's a Monday, if it's a Wednesday, a Thursday, whatever it may be, okay? So we start here. Number one, we should never wonder, what should I be doing today? Like, if you're in that position and you have that thought and you're waking up, that just simply means you've got a lot of opportunity and a lot of runway to solve that dilemma. Because if you're wondering, it means that you don't have a strong plan. So it starts there. And all that simply means is that at any point in time, and by the way, this still happens to me today, right? We get busy, we get distracted, we wake up, we didn't make great plans. We wake up and we're like, all right, what was I working on? Well, that means that we don't have clarity on what we're working on. So that's kind of where we start, okay? The next thing is in order to fully know exactly what I'm doing on a daily and a weekly and certainly monthly basis, we do need to have some type of snapshot of what the future looks like. Now, I want to be very careful here. If you're just starting out, I would not encourage you to spend like a ridiculous amount of time, what I'm about to share with you, but you at least need to have some type of image to it. We call it the big picture. This is your 1 year, your 3 year, and your 10-year plan. And I know what some of you probably just said, BJ, I don't have a client yet. And you want me to think about the next 5 to 10 years? I want you just to consider more or less what, if you could, draw it up just like you would want, what would it look like? Meaning your income goal, the way you would want to coach, that will not take you long to do. You can spend time down the road on getting granular with it, but just have kind of the bigger picture. So for context, if your goal is like, I'm happy with making $300,000 a year, whether you made that this year or in 10 years from now, like that's a solid number, you at least kind of know the direction you're moving towards, right? And here's what's going to happen. If you were developing a 10-year plan, a true 10-year plan, when you get in the next 2 to 3 years, you're going to edit that. So it's not like that you're never going to, like that you're locked into this idea. You just at least know, or you have an idea to some degree of what you would like to earn and how you would like to coach. That's all you need to kind of answer. Then we go look at the 3-year picture. Now we're talking about, and again, I'm just using relative numbers. If your number was 300 grand, okay, then realistically, what would the next 3 years need to look like, right? And so let's just say that, hey, in 3 years, I need to be earning at least 150 grand. And again, I'm not saying that that's your number or that's right or wrong. I'm just using it for context. Then the next one is your year. Now, this one, you do need to have a very decent idea. So again, for context, in 12 months, I need to earn enough to be able to earn $100,000, like if that was the number, okay? And my plan for right now is as a coach, I'm going to charge, you need to have this number as well. It's going to move around a little bit. You'll have opportunities that are going to shift things around, but this is just a goal, right? Goals are not meant to be always concrete. That just gives you the future so that you can plan your activities. So if you were charging, which is what the average coach charges, $2,000 a month, if that was the number, well, then you know how many clients that you're going to need to be able to make this happen, okay? You see what we're doing? We're beginning with the end in mind. One of my favorite habits in the world, taught my kids to do this. We're going on vacation. It's like, hey, let's begin with the end in mind here. When we get into a vehicle and we come back home, at least when we used to all vacation together, 2 of them are older and they've got their own thing going on. But when we used to do that, it's like when we get in the car or we get on the plane and we're head back, what all would we have wanted to accomplish? This is essentially saying the same exact thing. So for context, if it's $100,000, I need to have 4 to 5 clients at the average of $2,000 a month. So if today I have 0 clients, okay, then I'm just going to, again, in context, then my goal in the next 90 days is to get client number 1. That would be an idea. Now, that might not be your idea. You might need to have it in 30 or 40, 50, 60 days, whatever. Context, if that was my plan. So now I'm beginning to build. And then what I want to do is that I want to be able to, in succession, to be able to add another client at least every other 6 weeks so that come 12 months from now, I'm at my number. All right. Now, because we have that part solved, we can really focus on the weekly and the daily activity to actually make it happen. I would encourage you highly, number 1, to plan your weeks on Sundays as much as you possibly can. It's actually pretty challenging for me, to be honest, because I do need a lot of focused time to do this, but I can't stress enough, if you really want to maximize, especially Monday, because if not, you run the risk of the day just kind of blowing up. All right. So you want to plan on whatever you're going to do on that given week in an ideal scenario. And I don't strike 100 here. I don't think anyone does, but that really needs to be an agreement that you make with yourself. Probably should share that with your spouse, your family, if you still have kids in the home. But this is my goal. I need to spend 60 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever, the time box that you need to put yourself in to be able to do that. So regardless of what you use to plan, the types of tools you use, you want to utilize a Sunday, okay? Now, let's talk about real quick just the tools. You might be a paper person, you might be a digital person, or you might be a hybrid. That's what I am, all right? So I am a hybrid individual. I'm going to share with you exactly what I use. I'm not saying that you need to use this very thing, but you do need to choose tools, and you do need to stick to tools. If you are 1 week kind of, putting it on a notebook paper, the next week you kind of are just looking at your emails, whatever, then you do not have tools that you're using, and that's the agreement that you made with yourself. So whether you're using, the reminders in your iPhone app or whatever might be available for Android, or you're using Microsoft's task list or a number of other variables that are out there, you must have dedicated tools, and you stick to the tools, and you don't move around, and you don't choose this, that, or the other. Now, I use 2. One is called Things. It's for a Mac. I'm an Apple person, so it's called Things. I've used it for probably a decade, maybe even longer. And it's kind of like a project management system for individuals. Again, there's a bunches of them in the market. That's the one I use because it works super well on every single platform, an iPad, a phone, and a computer, and I use all of those devices. So that's where I'm keeping a lot of information. So here's one of the things that I do that's valuable about things. I'm able to use Siri, like if something enters my brain and it's not a task yet, I can say, hey, remind me to XYZ, and it puts it into what's called an inbox. And a part of my plan, and a couple of times throughout the week, is I'm checking that inbox, a little bit kind of like your mail. It's just a place to trap ideas and thoughts. Okay? So number one, you got to use a task manager at some level. Number two, I use Notes, Apple Notes. This is where I create podcast notes. This is where, if I'm working through a strategy plan, I use the notes. I don't use any other notes other than Apple Notes. Again, you might want to use Google Docs. You might want to use some other platform for notes, but you need some type of apparatus to be able to just be a note taker. Even when I get resources and content from an email, like somebody sent me something, I'm going to take that and I forward it to, and I put it in a note section. And I have my notes are structured in categories for personal, for business, and all kinds of different folder structures underneath that. Okay. And again, I didn't start it out this way. This has been years and years, but I'm just telling you, this is what systems look like. You need to develop a system. I'm just sharing with you mine. So things for activity and to tasks, notes for keeping track of notes. And I've got probably 1,500 notes at this point. Some of those are 10 years old. They're reference notes. Even for, like, I've got Christmas lists from many, many years ago for all of my family, my kids, vacation notes. I mean, you name it. That's just a place that I keep up with notes. I've got all the notes for all the podcast episodes that I've done, all the notes for the different, lead magnets that we've created. The list goes on and on and on because it's infinity. So you don't have to delete things, which I obviously do, get rid of things, but it's a file structure. Cloud-based makes it easy to get to everywhere. I would encourage you to that. Like whatever, if you're on an Apple or Android, whatever systems that you're going to use, they need to be accessible from any device with simplicity. Okay? Then the last one that I use, this is the hybrid part, is a journal called Goalcast. Okay? You can check it out on your own. You can get it on Amazon if you'd like to, and I'll tell you why I use it. Number one, this specific journal really gets into the weeds of just a lot of stuff about your goals, the why, the emotions connected to it. And there's a number of journals on there. Michael Hyatt's got one that has a similar function to it as well. They're all great. That's just the one that I've used for several years now, and I feel like it's been the best. Here's what it does, though. And there's a lot of legs to that. I won't get into the weeds of that. That's just what I use. A big portion of it is on the daily functionality. It allows me to write physically what I must do. And I have found that when you write out your plan, oh my goodness, it is a different world. And it's just the way God created our brains. When we're writing, you get a lot more clarity. You think through things. So I'm looking at my bigger plan in things, and then I'm taking what needs to happen this week and this day, and that's going into the journal. And that's where I wrestle with things, priorities and whatnot. I'm looking at the 1-year picture and the 3-year plan, and I'm trying to figure. And just like other entrepreneurs, you wake up with a shiny object syndrome, but there's something else you want to do, and you're having to wrestle. And so having this system where each week I'm looking at, here's the things that must have be accomplished this week, and I'm beginning to write those down in the journal, and then I'm beginning to find the days in which I'm going to accomplish them. And then most like a lot of other journals, it's going to give you the ability to say, here's my top 3 big tasks for the day. Here's other priorities that need to happen. And then I physically, this is going to hurt somebody, I physically write out my day. It has a schedule on there, and I literally write out what my day is going to be like. And it just gives you great clarity, because I can't tell you how many times as I'm writing out the schedule for the day, and I look over of the tasks that needed to happen for that day, to accomplish for that week, to accomplish for the month, the year, and so on. And I look at that and I go, yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. So if you're doing networking, for instance, and that's going to be on Thursday at 7 a.m., that's going to get on that schedule. If it's going to be, like last week I did a podcast interview, that was on that schedule. So that's just where the weekly, each week I'm reviewing the whole week, the whole big plan, and putting it on paper, having to adjust as things are going on. And then I make sure of those things that are getting scheduled, which ones are my biggest revenue generating activities. So as a coach, this is the follow-up process. This is reaching out to people, following up people that I maybe have met at a network or referral. Maybe I'm trying to work a joint venture deal with a CPA, and we're trying to find time to get coffee together, whatever. And making sure that my priorities first lie on revenue generating activities. This prevents just busy work. And I would even make the argument that when you're in this season of building a coaching practice, you have to protect the golden hours. This is the 10 to 3. So in other words, just paperwork and minutia should happen before 10 and after 3. If you would really want to get and build a strong, successful business of any kind for that matter, you protect the golden hours. That's selling one-on-one. If those of you that have a sales background, that's not new to you whatsoever, okay? So prayerfully, you're kind of getting the idea, right? Strategy. And everything I just said, you can take that and form it in a bunch of different ways. One, you got to have resources and tools. Find a system. Create that system. Again, mine, it's a journal. It's things and notes. I don't write stuff down on paper. I don't take anything by chance. I plan out the week. I write it down, and I follow it as best I can. It never works out flawlessly. There's obvious things that make an impact and go sideways, and you must adjust. That's what I do, and the reason why that works, in my opinion, that's the reason why you can have flexibility. You lose flexibility when you don't know what you're supposed to be doing. You lose flexibility when you're not sure what 6 months looks like from now, certainly for the year. You lose flexibility when you start working on things and you've ignored the priorities that you've already told yourself are important. But when you have a plan, a system, and a structure, you are way more apt to being able to make those things happen and ignore the potential distractions so that you can say, nope, great idea, but I made a commitment to myself over here. Because if you constantly are working on all these extra things, it's making an impact to your revenue generating activities, and that's going to impact your ability to be successful. So there you go. I hope that helps. Again, there's 50,000 ways to do this, right? But prayerfully that will give you some sense of like, okay, I see how he's doing that. I think I could probably, take a few things from there and build my own plan and structure and go from there. Okay. Until next time, take care.